I'm sure by now you've noticed an odd turn the continuing crisis in the church has taken. The mainstream media and large portions of the Catholic establishment media have actually allied themselves to defend this pontificate. I doubt most of you would have imagined such a scenario taking place in your lifetime, especially if you were a Catholic during the sex abuse scandal of 2002, when John Paul II and then Benedict XVI were both viciously attacked by the media for the Church's inability to address that crisis. While interesting, and an issue that I'll likely address in a future video later in the week, another story that is developing that isn't getting much attention by the Catholic media isn't surprising. That story is about money and the role that certain key figures in this scandal played in their ability to fundraise for the Church. Money is playing a huge role in this crisis, and virtually no one is talking about it. When our blessed Lord talked about how it was impossible to love both God and mammon, this is a prime example of what he was talking about. So let's dive right into this. The Papal Foundation is a nonprofit organization whose purpose is to support the missions of the Holy Father. To quote their website, the Papal Foundation began in 1988 as a response to the desire of Catholic clergy and laity in the United States for a unique, sustainable way to support the Holy Father and his witness in the world. Income generated from the investment of capital creates a perpetual source of revenue. The portfolio does not invest in any companies that engage in activities inconsistent with our faith. The Papal Foundation can best be understood as the latest iteration of the Church adopting methods of the contemporary world to achieve the purposes of the Church. This is of itself not necessarily a bad thing per se. For example, the Church has media operations that mirror the mass media culture today. Examples of this are EWTN, the National Catholic Register, and the Vatican News Service, among other organizations. The Papal Foundation is simply a non-profit fundraising and stewardship organization that perfectly fits in the age of technocratic non-profit organizations. The mission of the Papal Foundation is a mission of cooperation and collaboration. In 2010, the Board of Trustees adopted the following mission statement. The mission of the Papal Foundation is to serve the Holy Father and the Roman Catholic Church. We do this by gathering in a corporal and cooperative collaboration of laity, clergy, and hierarchy within the Church, in witness to one another of our faith and drawing strength from the witness of the Holy Father. We bring and contribute our faith, our energy, and our financial resources to serve those needs of the Church that are of particular significance to the Holy Father, always with a commitment to walk in union with the Holy Father and the magisterium of the Church. Our donors can be individuals, foundations, or fraternal groups. Membership starts with a pledge to give $1 million over the course of no more than 10 years with a minimum donation of $100,000 per year. Those who choose to make this commitment become stewards of St. Peter and join a growing network of dedicated American Catholics in service to the successor of Peter. The vision of our founding members and the commitment of our stewards has resulted in a fund that has grown to over $215 million with a total of $121 million awarded in grants and scholarships. Much of the following information comes from a piece in the American Conservative by Rod Dreher. One of the key figures who helped found the Papal Foundation was none other than former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. The Papal Foundation began in 1988. In 2001, Theodore McCarrick was named a cardinal by John Paul II. The Washington Post puts McCarrick in the same company as two other disgraced prelates of the Church, Bishop Law and the infamous Marcel Marcial, who all frequented the Vatican with large sums of money. McCarrick was famous for appearing after a famous figure died and offering to have some of their estate used for promoting the missions of mercy that the papacy is famous for. The annual Peter's Pence collection at your parish pales in comparison to the money raised by the foundation. The National Catholic Register reports that the foundation has assets in excess of $206 million. The foundation is governed by a board of trustees comprised of the 8 U.S. domiciled cardinals, who serve as ex officio members and who approved the 7 bishops and archbishops and 9 laypeople who serve as elected members. Grants are to be allocated to needs that are of particular significance to the Holy Father, and often they have been made to institutions and organizations in third world countries. In the year 2017, for example, grants included $70,000 to construct a primary school in Bangladesh, $90,000 to complete a library for high school students in the local community in Nicaragua, and $100,000 for an orthopedic and physiotherapy unit for the St. John Paul II Medical Center in Ghana. In February, LifeSite News broke the story that Francis bailed out a corrupt dermatological institute in Rome that was used to launder money. He did this using $25 million in Papal Foundation funds. According to the internal documents, the Pope made the request for the massive grant, which is 100 times larger than its normal grants, through Papal Foundation Board Chairman Cardinal Donald Wuerl in the summer of 2017. Despite the opposition from the lay stewards, the bishops on the board voted in December to send an $8 million payment to the Holy See. In January, the documents reveal lay members raised alarm about what they consider a gross misuse of their funds, but despite their protests, another $5 million was sent, with Cardinal Wuerl brooking no dissent. On January 6th, the steward, who until then served as chairman of the Foundation's audit committee, submitted his resignation along with a report of the committee's grave objections to the grant. As head of the audit committee and a trustee of the foundation, I found this grant to be negligent in character, flawed in its diligence, and contrary to the spirit of the foundation, he wrote in his resignation letter accompanying the report. Instead of helping the poor in a third world country, the board approved an unprecedented huge grant to a hospital that has a history of mismanagement, criminal indictments, and bankruptcy. According to leaked documents, all of the bishops on the foundation board voted as a bloc to approve Francis's request, with Cardinal Wuerl strong-arming the request through. Half of the money had been provided by the foundation, and then the uproar from the board forced Cardinal Wuerl to request from the Pope that he cancel the rest of the requested funds. In response, Francis canceled his annual audience with the foundation, a snub truly fit for a dictator pope. One lay board member, John Longden, resigned in disgust and was replaced by disgraced Archbishop Nienstedt, disgraced because of his personal mismanagement of a sex abuse case. He and Viganio know each other well, and later said of Viganio that he was doing the church a great service bringing this all to light. So we have McCarrick and Wuerl in one place of extreme importance. We are talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of assets. If you need further proof, just look at this list of names, one and all Francis's biggest cheerleaders among the princes of the church. These men are the board of trustees for the Papal Foundation. They're on your screen. You'll recognize most of them. Follow the money. Thanks for listening. If you find this kind of content valuable, like this video and subscribe. I can be found on Twitter and other social media websites with links in the description. Ave Maria.